Welcome to Write Now Workshop Podcast, where you can write a book and change the world. I'm your host, Kitty Bucholtz, and this is episode 97. We don't know the end of the story, an encouraging words episode coming to you on Sunday, September 9th, 2018. So, I had told you a couple of months ago that I was going to bring the 3 times a week podcast down to once a week for July and August, mostly as a way to try to get through and recover from the burnout that I was experiencing. I am definitely getting better, and I'm missing actually giving you some encouraging words. So I'm going to do an encouraging words episode at least once a month. I'm not sure exactly about when, and I have some other ideas for other things that I might do and how would that work, and so I'm still figuring that out. But for right now, here is a September encouraging words episode, and it's mostly because I have writing on the brain, and it's a writing podcast, so that works out, right? I have writing on the brain. I just got back from celebrating. I went to a big Asian buffet lunch with John, and he wanted to take me out to lunch for basically, in a much nicer way of saying it, finally getting some writing done when I sent my book out to Hallmark. So yay! You always have to do something to celebrate, even the little things. And when times are tough, you really need to celebrate all of the little things, because there are days when those are the only things that you're getting done. So we did our celebration. I'm feeling excited. And it occurred to me again that I kind of miss talking to you guys about encouraging words because, my husband just did something very encouraging for me. So I was thinking about writing when I woke up this morning, which was awesome. It just made me feel so happy. And when I opened up the Bible app on my phone, which is what I'm trying to do first thing before I get out of bed, before I check email, before I check the weather even, I'm trying to do that so that what I think is the most important thing for my mental health every day and spiritual health, and who knows, I don't know, maybe physical health. I have no idea how much the things in our minds affects the things in our bodies. I know it does, though. So this is the one thing that I'm trying to make sure that I'm doing every day. And I thought the verse was interesting. Of course, I've read it before, but I was just like, So I clicked on a button that says compare versions so I can see all the different ways that people have translated it. And I just want to read it to you from the Amplified version, which means that it is looking at all the words, and if there's any possible mix-up about what this word is trying to say, or if this word actually is like trying to say a whole phrase of information, it will type all of it in there. So it's a much longer translation of pretty much every single thing in the Bible. So where is this from anyway? Ecclesiastes. So Ecclesiastes 3:11, and Ecclesiastes is like a book of wisdom. So it's not like everything in there is a promise set forth from God that things are going to happen exactly this way. It's like wisdom of how life works in a general sense. So from 3:11 it says, "He has made everything beautiful in its time. He has also planted eternity in men's hearts and minds, a divinely implanted sense of purpose, working through the ages, which nothing under the sun but God alone can satisfy. Yet, so that men cannot find out what God has done from the beginning to the end." And I guess it was just the mindset that I was in with all the different writing and book and story related stuff in my head. But I was like, ooh, it's a story we don't know the end to. And then I was like, oh wait, that's my story. I don't know the end to. And of course, none of us know the end to our story. But I was like, this is cool because just like with, a novel that we read, it starts out with a promise. Like I said, this is a book of wisdom, but this little piece of it it starts out with this really good thing to say. He's made everything beautiful in its time. And I was like, oh, yeah, all right. So, in general, our lives are meant to be beautiful. There will be things that happen. Our characters, that would be us and all the people around us, are going to have conflicts, and they're going to have to overcome conflicts. And when they can't and they get beaten down, they need to find a way to stand up again and look for another way to defeat the enemy or or, conquer whatever the conflict or challenge is in their lives until they get to the end. And it's just fun because I was just talking to, I don't think this interview has gone live yet. I was talking with an author that I just recently interviewed. I think it was yesterday. So that would have been Thursday if you're listening to this on Sunday, September 9th. So I was talking to her and I was saying, I am not one of those people who goes and reads the last page of the book. Yes, I read the back cover copy and I'll probably read the first page. And if it's a Kindle ebook that I'm considering, I'll probably download the Kindle sample. And if I get to the end of the sample and I'm like, I must know what happens next, then I'm definitely going to buy the book. That's kind of the way I buy. And I was thinking, I'm not the kind of person who wants to read the last page to make sure that the book, has a good ending. I know people who do this and I can't conceive of it. It's just not the way I read. It most certainly would not be the way that I would best enjoy a story. Nonetheless, I definitely need to know that this story is going to have a satisfying ending to me. So if it's good versus evil, good better be winning. If it's man and woman fall in love, they better be, making that permanent, final, I love you commitment at the end of the story. If it's crime, the bad guy better get caught. Or that there's something else happening that I know this is part of actually a bigger story, like in the Castle TV show. There are some things that are going on over the various seasons that it doesn't get resolved in one episode, but over the course of a season or 2 or 3 seasons, that we're getting closer and closer to resolving the conflict. Anyway, and I was just reading this verse and yet men cannot find out what God has done from the beginning to the end. So we've kind of come into the story in media res, just the way that we're told to write our scenes. And in fact, our whole book is supposed to start kind of in the middle of the action. So readers, until I write about some backstory or something else that has happened to these characters, either as they're thinking about it or as somebody else brings it up or it somehow comes up in thought or conversation, the reader doesn't know, what's happened from the beginning of this character's life. And they don't know what's going to happen right up into the end. They only know this piece. And I was like, that's just so cool. So I don't know. It was encouraging to me. And I just thought it was cool that, of course, another reminder that my life is like a little piece of the big piece that is. So just like my stories are a little piece of the big piece that is this imaginary characters, only thank goodness I am not imaginary to God. I'm real. And I'm really going to have, some interesting story stuff come up and some, interesting plot points, and my character arc will grow because I definitely am choosing that I want it to grow, but that might mean that things get hard again and then better again. So interesting, right? I thought it was fun. I hope that you're enjoying hearing an encouraging episode again. I hope that you will tell me what sorts of things that you want more of or less of or whatever. And I have some plans. They're not quite ready to put out there yet, but I have some ideas about how I'm going to proceed with the podcast to make sure that it doesn't take all of my time and energy away from writing and that I don't get to the position of wondering if I'm going to burn out again. So on the other hand, I love talking to you. So hopefully you're enjoying talking to me too. All right. Have an excellent week. Happy writing, and we'll talk to you again soon.